Good day. Welcome to the 15th episode of Echoes from the Source.
Hello.
Today, we're taking a really fascinating deep dive. We're looking into Gurudev's book, An Intimate Note to the Sincere Seeker.
hmm
And specifically, we're zooming in on the chapter where he explores the profound concept of silence.
Yeah, and our goal today really is to get under the skin of how Gurudev understands silence.
Yeah.
It's way beyond just, the absence of sound.
Right.
We want to uncover that deeper meaning and maybe find some practical ways it can actually enrich your life day.
We'll be drawing from Gurudev's own words, his teachings, and also some reflections on what it feels like to experience this silence.
Right.
So the mission for you, our listener, is pretty clear. We want to pull out those key insights from Gurudev, give you a richer understanding and some real practical ways to maybe integrate this into your life without it feeling, overwhelming or too abstract.
Makes sense. So where do we start? Gurudev kind of flips the script on silence right away, doesn't he?
He really does. He basically says, look, silence isn't emptiness. It's not a lack of something.
No, quite the opposite. He sees it as full, like full of depth, a kind of vibrant awareness.
Vibrant awareness. I like that.
Yeah, he even calls it the soul of life, the sort of baseline presence under everything else.
And it's active in a way, not just sitting there doing nothing. He mentions it being the language of the soul.
That's a key point.
Mm.
He suggests that in this deeper silence, things we value, prayer, love, wisdom, even compassion and action, they all meet. They connect.
And they connect without needing words.
Exactly. Without needing to be expressed outwardly. It's a kind of inner convergence.
He has those beautiful lines. Wisdom without words is silence.
Hmm.
Action without doership is silence.
Right.
Smiling with all of existence is silence. That last one's intriguing.
It really shifts how you think about quiet moments, doesn't it? Suddenly they're not just gaps.
Yeah, they could be opportunities for something deeper to surface. It suggests maybe the most important stuff happens beneath the chatter.
Kind of like in music. You need the pauses.
Oh, that's a great analogy. Yeah, the silence between the notes is what gives the melody its shape, its beauty.
Exactly. And Gurudev's point, I think, is that this silence, this awareness,
Yeah.
it's not something you have to build or achieve.
Okay. So it's not like another task to add to the list.
No, not at all. It's more like remembering something.
Yeah.
He suggests it's the presence of awareness that's always there,
Yeah.
underneath the thoughts and feelings.
Right.
You just need to settle back into it.
Rest into what was always there.
Yes. It's about recognition, not creation.
And he gives us these specific phrases, almost like definitions or facets of silence.
He does. They're very poetic, but also insightful.
Let's look at those. First one, prayer within breath is silence. What's he getting at there?
Well, think about breathing. It's constant, mostly unconscious, right?
Yeah.
He's linking prayer, which we often think of as deliberate words or thoughts, to that simple, natural rhythm. It suggests a kind of sacredness, a connection, happening just in the act of breathing. No words needed.
A communion in the breath itself. Okay. Then, love with infinity is silence. That sounds huge.
It points to a love that's completely boundless, unconditional. Think formless, vast.
Yeah.
It doesn't ask for anything back. It just is, extending outwards.
Like the love talked about in spiritual traditions, maybe, without attachment.
Very much so. A love that doesn't depend on the object. It just radiates.
Okay. And wisdom without words is silence. We touched on this, but unpack it a bit more.
This suggests that the deepest understanding isn't always intellectual. It's not about facts or argument.
More like intuition.
Exactly. Or a direct knowing that arises from stillness, from presence. You just know something deep down without needing to articulate why.
Right. Got it. Next up, compassion without aim is silence.
This one's beautiful. Think of, say, a tree offering shade. It doesn't choose who sits under it, does it?
No, it just provides shade.
Right. So this is compassion like that. Selfless giving flowing naturally from that silent core, without any agenda, without needing thanks or recognition. Pure generosity.
That makes sense. And then action without doership is silence. This sounds a bit like concepts from, say, the Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga.
Absolutely. It's about acting, being engaged in the world, but without the ego clinging to the results. You're fully present in the action, like maybe a craftsman totally absorbed in their work, but not attached to praise or blame. Stillness in motion.
Acting without the I did this feeling attached.
Precisely. The action flows through you rather than being driven by ego.
And the last one, smiling with existence, or sometimes smiling with all existence, is silence.
This isn't about forcing a smile. It's about a deep inner sense of joy, a harmony that comes from feeling connected to everything.
Ah, so it's not smiling at something specific.
No, it's smiling with everything. It's a sign of that silent unity, that feeling of being okay, fundamentally, and connected to the whole unfolding of life. A cosmic nod, maybe?
Wow. Okay, these are profound ideas. But how do we actually connect with this in our, messy, busy lives? It sounds lovely, but maybe a bit out of reach.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And Grudev's answer is surprisingly simple. He once advised a young seeker.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
He said, basically, just watch your breath. Observe it, one breath at a time. And then he added, there, between the inhale and exhale, it is waiting for you.
Between the inhale and exhale, that tiny pause.
Exactly. That little gap, the sacred gap, as some call it, the space we usually rush right past.
And he's saying that's the entry point.
That's what he suggests. That tiny pause holds the potential. By noticing it, by resting in it, even for a moment, you touch that deeper silence.
And what comes out of touching that?
Well, he suggests things like clarity can arise from there, unconditional love, even joy that doesn't seem to have a specific cause. These aren't things to achieve through effort, but qualities to be remembered, uncovered in that stillness.
Things that are already present, waiting.
Yes, just waiting for the noise to quiet down enough for us to notice them.
So, if we start practicing this, watching the breath, noticing the gap, what are some signs we might actually be, touching this real silence? Are there little clues?
There are, and they're often subtle. You might feel a stronger sense of connection with people, even if you're not talking much.
Okay.
Your usual reactions to stressful things might soften. You might find yourself responding more calmly, rather than just reacting instantly.
Less knee-jerk reactions.
Right. Nature might seem more vivid, more alive somehow, like you're perceiving it on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that spontaneous smile we talked about. Not forced, just bubbling up from a place of quiet contentment.
That smiling with all the existence again.
Exactly. It's an outward sign of an inner shift towards that peaceful, connected state.
It sounds like people have had some powerful experiences trying to connect with this. We hear anecdotes, right?
Oh, definitely.
I-
People share remarkable stories. There was one person on a meditation retreat, for example, who initially found the silence really difficult, almost agitating.
I can imagine that. The mind races.
Right. But as they stayed with it, that feeling transformed into this profound sense of presence. They realized the silence wasn't empty, it was incredibly full.
Fullness, not emptiness. That's a key shift.
It is. And another person, going through a really rough patch emotionally, went on a silence retreat. They found this unexpected calm and clarity started to emerge. The answers they felt they desperately needed weren't found by thinking harder, but by resting in the quiet.
That resonates with something I heard someone describing an advanced retreat where, in the quiet, they felt they experienced everything. They called it the most beautiful conversation I never had.
Wow, that captures it perfectly, doesn't it? That deep, wordless communication.
Yeah. And it's not just retreats, is it? People find this in daily life, too.
Absolutely. Like a student who started just pausing, taking a few silent breaths before responding to stressful emails or situations at work. Huge difference in their stress levels.
Just that small pause.
Or someone finding a pocket of inner stillness, right in the middle of a noisy city festival. It really shows that the silence Gurudev talks about is an inner resource available anywhere.
Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing about someone dealing with anxiety, how silent meditation helped to just soften the edges of their fears and worries. Like the silence allowed them to gently hold the anxiety rather than fight it.
Yes, that healing aspect is often reported too.
And those metaphors Gurudev uses, they really help picture it.
Right.
Smiling with all existence, you mentioned it being like a calm lake reflecting the sky.
Exactly. That perfect reflection, that undisturbed peace, it captures that sense of harmony.
And action without doership, like a wave in the ocean.
Yeah, or a river flowing. The wave is part of the ocean, moving naturally, powerfully, but without an individual meat claiming the movement. The river flows, nourishes, without effort or self-consciousness. It just does what it does.
It helps to have those images. Okay, so bringing this right down to brass tacks, for someone listening now thinking, okay, I want to try this, what are some really practical, doable steps?
Well, the first one is the simplest, the one Gurudev highlighted. Watch your breath. Just notice it.
Just some cups of
Observe. Don't try to change it. Another easy one. Start the day with just 5 or 10 minutes of quiet. Before the phone, before the news, just sit.
Create that space first thing.
Exactly. And then throughout the day, pause before reacting. Just a beat. Give yourself that mental space.
Yeah.
Try doing simple actions, washing dishes, walking without the constant mental chatter about doing them. Just be present with the action itself.
Like being absorbed without the commentary.
Right. Maybe engage in silent acts of kindness. Do something helpful without needing anyone to know it was you.
That relates to the compassion point.
It does.
Yeah.
And if you can, maybe try a slightly longer period of silence, even just an afternoon or a silent walk in nature, leaving the phone behind.
Okay. What else?
Practice listening more, speaking less. Really hear what someone is saying instead of just planning your response.
That's a hard one in conversations sometimes.
It is. But very powerful. Take mindful pauses between activities. Just 3 conscious breaths can reset things. Cultivate quiet moments wherever you can find them. Let actions emerge from that stillness rather than just reacting impulsively. Offer a silent smile sometimes.
Like that smiling with existence.
Yeah. Try a silent morning, maybe the first hour. No speaking, no scrolling. Feel the difference. Use mindful transitions. Sit in stillness sometimes without any guidance. Just being aware.
Just being.
Just being. Observe thoughts and feelings silently, without judgment. Take a minute midday just to check in with your breath. Listen deeply. Sit without music or mantras sometimes.
That's a lot of great practical ideas. Why are these simple things so valuable, do you think?
Because they chip away at the habit of constant mental noise. They build inner resilience, a sense of inner peace. They actually improve mental clarity and emotional balance over time. They help you access that deep wellspring of silence points to.
It really feels like in today's world, with all the noise and demands on our attention, choosing silence, even in small ways, is kind of radical.
It really is. It's almost revolutionary. It's a deliberate step towards reclaiming your own mind, your own emotional center. It's about reconnecting with who you are beneath the roles you play and the noise you absorb.
A reclaiming of inner space.
Exactly. And Gurudev's ultimate message, I think, is that silence isn't a break from life.
No.
No, he suggests it's the very pulse of life. It's the ground from which true prayer, deep love, authentic wisdom, and selfless compassion naturally arise and radiate outwards. You know, we often think of silence as just the absence of something, the lack of noise, right? But what if that's not really the whole picture? What if, like these teachings from Gurudev we've been looking at suggest silence isn't empty? What if it's actually, well, a powerful presence?
That's exactly the shift, yeah.
And let's be honest, in our world today, everything's buzzing, everything's connected all the time. So the idea of truly getting silence, it can feel a bit slippery, like trying to grab smoke.
Totally. It can feel really distant, maybe even a bit counterintuitive with how we live day to day.
Yeah. Silence isn't just quietness.
Right.
Gurudev seems to talk about it as a profound presence, almost like pure awareness itself. It's even described as a state where the soul breathes freely, experiences pure being. That's well, that's a big step up from just peace and quiet. How does thinking about it that way change things?
Oh, it's fundamental, I think, because it totally reframes how we relate to silence. It stops being something we have to create by, shutting everything out.
Right, like soundproofing a room.
Exactly. Instead, it becomes something that's already there, an underlying reality. Think about the metaphor that comes up in a few texts in the ocean.
Okay.
So on the surface, you've got the waves, right? That's like our thoughts, our emotions always moving, sometimes really choppy.
Definitely feel that sometimes.
But deep down, below the surface, there's this immense, deep, still silence. That silence is the ocean's nature, fundamentally. And Gurudev's teachings, well, they suggest something pretty similar about our own inner world.
That clicks. Because, yeah, so many of us feel like our minds are those choppy waves, just getting thrown around by thoughts all day. So if this deep silence is always there inside us, is Gurudev saying it can be like an anchor when we feel overwhelmed by all that mental noise?
Precisely that, yeah. The
Okay.
sources suggest that by learning to recognize and connect with that stillness that's already within us, we can find a kind of stability, a calm point. Even when everything outside or even inside feels totally chaotic, it's really about shifting where we put our focus away from the surface stuff towards that deep, unchanging peace.
Okay, and this is where it gets, for me, really interesting. The texts also talk about silence as communication, but not like we usually think of it. Not words.
No, there's this phrase, prayer within breath is silence. It's described as a sacred stillness, the purest form of communication beyond words. Like a subtle way of connecting with the divine that doesn't need language. It almost sounds like, I don't know, tuning into a different frequency or something. What's that about? Well, it really broadens what communication can even mean, doesn't it? It goes beyond just swapping information with words. It points to a more direct experiential kind of connection. Silence, in this sense, becomes the actual medium for that deeper knowing.
The medium itself.
Yeah, exactly. It's not limited by language, by all the misunderstandings and structure. It's presented as the language of the soul, right? A way to tap into that infinite wisdom inside. You ever have those moments where you just know something deeply without anyone spelling it out?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
And then there's this really beautiful idea about love. Love expressed in stillness is called love with infinity, described as this like boundless, wordless flow connecting us beyond the physical. It transcends boundaries. And the texts say this love just is. It doesn't need proof or constant saying. That feels really profound connection existing in the quiet.
It suggests that maybe when we let go of the need to constantly express or validate love outwardly, it can actually exist in its purest form.
It becomes less about what we do to show love and more about a state of being, like a quiet resonance between people or even with existence itself that goes deeper than words or action sometimes can. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Does our need to constantly talk about love sometimes, I don't know, water it down?
That's a really good question. Okay, so if silence is this deep place for connection, what about understanding? Getting wisdom. One source mentions wisdom without words.
Yes.
This inner knowing that pops up when the mind is calm, free from all the chatter. It even says some of life's greatest insights come not through speaking, but through quiet reflection. That kind of goes against how we usually operate, right?
Yeah.
Thinking more, talking more input equals more understanding.
It absolutely challenges that, yeah. The texts contrast how words can sometimes actually cloud understanding,
Yeah.
Through misinterpretation, bias, or just information overload.
Right. Too much noise.
Whereas silence is presented as this space where insights, these realizations, can just naturally bubble up. It's like when the mind is still, it becomes a clear mirror. It reflects deeper truths. Think about when you're stuck on a problem, you stop hammering away at it, and then later, maybe when you're relaxed, the answer just appears.
The shower thoughts phenomenon.
Exactly. That quiet space, let the insight come through.
Okay, so this brings up a really interesting tension that the sources explore.
Mm-hmm.
The link between this deep inner silence and how we actually, act in the world. There's this concept of action without doership.
Mm-hmm.
Acting from silence means doing things without being hung up on the results
Mm.
or the ego needing credit. It's described as living in the flow of the present,
Mm.
where actions just arise naturally, effortlessly. How does finding inner silence actually change how we interact with the world?
I think the key change is in our motivation. When action comes from that place of inner stillness, it's less likely to be driven by ego, right? Less by needing approval or fearing failure. Instead, actions can arise more organically, more aligned with a deeper sense maybe of purpose and just what the present moment calls for. It's about being fully in the action itself, rather than constantly thinking about what will happen if or what will I get out of this. Ever been completely absorbed in something, lost track of time, even yourself?
Yeah, like being in the zone.
That's a taste of it. That's acting without that heavy sense of, I am doing this.
And it's not just our actions, but how we connect with others too, especially through compassion. The sources talk about compassion without aim.
That's a beautiful one.
Yeah, a pure and unconditional kind of love or care that heals without needing thanks, or even for the other person to understand why. It's described as a quiet acceptance of another's suffering. That feels very different from how we often think about helping, less fixing, more just being there.
Exactly. It shifts away from compassion as something active we do, giving advice, trying to solve it all, and moves towards a state of being with someone in their pain. This silent compassion, the text suggests, can be incredibly powerful. It offers this space of acceptance, of understanding, without judging or having some personal agenda attached, just acknowledging their experience.
Without needing to change it.
Right, just allowing it to be and being present with it.
And then finally, there's this lovely image. Smiling with all the existence is silence. Explaining that this silent smile isn't just on your face, it's a reflection of inner peace, feeling connected to everything. It radiates calm, invites others into that feeling. It's more than just lips turning up. It's like a deep harmony showing itself, like the quiet inside radiating out.
Yes, that silent smile really captures it, doesn't it? The essence of living from that deep place of inner quiet. It's just a natural outward sign of the connection and maybe joy that comes when we're truly grounded in that silence. It becomes this really subtle but quite powerful way of communicating peace, a silent invitation almost. for others to find that space in themselves too.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly valuable. But let's get practical.
Right.
How do we actually weave this into our lives, which are often, let's face it, very noisy and very busy? The sources do give some actual tips, right? Some practical ways to cultivate silence.
Oh, absolutely, they do. And across the different texts, you see some recurring suggestions, and they're actually quite accessible. Things like simply becoming more aware of your breath sometimes during the day.
Just noticing it.
Just noticing it, or taking a few minutes, literally just a few minutes, to sit quietly without the phone, without distractions. Observing your thoughts and feelings as they come and go, but without, getting swept away by them.
Like watching clouds drift by.
Exactly. And even something as simple as bringing a gentle smile inwardly or outwardly to your face during moments of quiet.
Right. And I remember seeing things like using your breath as that anchor, like we mentioned earlier, really practicing active listening, like truly hearing someone instead of just planning your reply.
That's a big one.
And intentionally making little pockets of quiet solitude in your day. Even just pausing for a breath or two before you speak or before jumping to the next thing on your list, these all feel like things you could actually do.
Totally. They're not about needing some big retreat or hours of meditation, though those can be great too. These are presented as like tools you can use right now, wherever you are, to help, as one text puts it, recharge the mind and gently reconnect with that silent essence within, even if your schedule is packed.
And it's cool that the sources even give these little glimpses of it working for people. Like the story of a disciple finding this deep peace just by sitting near Gurudev when he was silent. Or the friend who started just sitting silently for a bit each day and found it really calmed them down amidst a busy life. It shows it's not just theory, right? It can actually make a difference.
Those examples are really encouraging, I think. They remind us these aren't just, lofty philosophical ideas. They show the real, tangible benefits that come from actively making a bit of space for silence in our lives, helping us navigate things, find some genuine peace, some clarity.
And this is really for you, the learner. Forget just quiet rooms. We're exploring the real meaning, the power of silence. Well, it's much more than just no noise.
Absolutely. It's quite a fundamental shift, actually. Gurudev reframes it completely, not as an absence, but as this vibrant presence.
Exactly, a presence.
And he unpacks this richness beautifully, gives some really evocative examples.
Like what?
Well, he talks about silence being like a breath filled with prayer, not necessarily words, but that feeling,
Reverence.
Right, or a love without conditions, a wisdom that's deeper than just book smarts. Compassion with no strings attached,
Okay.
action that isn't driven by ego, and even just a smile that just radiates beingness.
Those aren't passive ideas, are they? That silence is a very active, fertile ground.
Totally. And it changes how we see thoughts, too. He says silence isn't just the gap between thoughts.
Right.
It's the source, the wellspring where clarity actually comes from.
That's a big shift. Okay, so if we start to grasp this, how does it change how we perceive things, how we observe?
That's where it gets really interesting. Cultivating this inner silence, it sort of sharpens our perception, allows us to see beyond the surface.
So,
Well, the sources say that in that quiet, you start picking up on things like the real intention behind someone's words. Or the emotion driving an action, even if the action itself looks, neutral, you see the truth behind the mask, basically. Our inner senses get tuned up.
it's like getting better resolution on reality. And it's not just the big stuff, right? The sources mention subtler things.
Like noticing how your own breath feels, how it almost carries stories, or feeling your heartbeat connect to some larger rhythm. Little things, but profound. And Gurudev suggests that just being present in that silent way can offer huge comfort to others without needing words, just your grounded presence.
Powerful. So if silence is this internal state, it's not just about hiding away in a quiet room then. How does it work in, daily life?
No, not at all. And that's a key point from Gurudev. It's not about escaping. It's relevant right here in the middle of everything.
So practical examples, where can we find it or practice it?
The sources give good ones. Think about a simple walk outside at night under the stars, or that tiny pause, before you react to an email or something someone says.
That little gap.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's a space for silence, or a loving look between people, or even just that feeling of surrender at the end of a tough day, letting go.
Okay, it makes sense.
It's about letting silence kind of permeate things, work, relationships, dreams, not as an escape hatch, but as an anchor.
An anchor. I like that. So it can actually be in our actions.
Yes. It's a fascinating idea in the sources that silence itself can be a form of prayer or wisdom or compassion or action. Not necessarily through doing something outwardly, but as an internal state that just informs how you are, how you act in the world. Your being influences your doing.
Okay, so we're definitely moving past silence is just no noise. Let's hit that misconception directly.
Yeah, we have to. It's so much more than a pause or an absence. Gurudev calls it an infinite companion.
Infinite companion.
Yeah, and an eternal presence that surrounds all of life. It's always there, woven into everything.
Wow. And wasn't there that story about the meditator?
Oh, right, the one who felt like they were losing their mind in deep silence.
Yeah, that one.
And then realized, no, they weren't losing their mind. They were actually meeting their true self, maybe for the first time.
That really drives it home. Silence reveals it doesn't hide.
Exactly. It shows Gurudev's point perfectly. In silence, you don't need to try so hard. No seeking, no effort, just being.
Just being.
And that state of being, the sources say, it isn't empty. It's actually full. Full of answers, insights.
Okay, so for you, the learner, listening right now, how do we actually do this? How do we integrate this infinite companion when life's so noisy?
The million-dollar question, right?
Yeah?
Well, the sources offer some really practical steps. One big one is that pause we mentioned. Pause before reacting. Let silence filter your emotions.
Okay, simple but hard sometimes.
It takes practice. Another is just noticing your breath. See it as silence speaking to you constantly. Or watching nature. The sources suggest seeing nature, trees, water, whatever, as a kind of silent conversation happening all the time.
I like that. What else?
Engaging in action without being totally fixated on the result, letting silence be the doer in a way. And meditation, yes, but maybe approach it less like quieting the mind and more like listening to the silence.
Listening to the silence, not just for it.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift. And the key takeaway here is this isn't about running away from the world.
Right, it's about anchoring yourself within it.
Precisely. Building that inner core of stillness so you can navigate everything else better.
So, thinking bigger picture,
Hmm.
the sources talk about silence being almost revolutionary.
Indeed. In a world that demands constant attention, choosing silence, even briefly, is kind of radical, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it.
It centers you, it can heal, it connects you back to yourself and to that sense of the infinite that Gurudev talks about.
It's like finding your own presence again.
Yes.
Stepping back, becoming the observer.
Yeah.
The stillness behind the motion.
Yes. And Gurudev points out how much stress comes just from, overthinking everything.
Oh, yeah.
Silence acts like a reset button for that mental chatter.
A reset button. So the invitation from the sources is...
It's actually really simple, and you can do it right now. Just sit with yourself for a moment, watch your breath gently, and just let a soft smile come to your face.
no effort.
No effort. Just allow the silence to be there, to envelop you. Don't analyze it. Just feel it.
Which leads to the deeper transformation, right?
Exactly. That core message again. You are not made of noise. You are made of space.
That's powerful.
It reframes everything. Inner stillness isn't empty. It's where the real music is, the sacred music, as the sources put it.
So aligning with that silence, what does that do?
Gurudev suggests it helps us live from a deeper intelligence. We become maybe softer, wiser, more anchored through presence, not by withdrawing. And real change, the sources say, it often starts as a whisper inside, and then it just shines through how we live.
It's not loud and dramatic.
Not usually, no. It's quieter, deeper.
So wrapping up this deep dive, the invitation seems really clear.
It is. It's simply to listen.
To listen to what's always been speaking in the silence. And that's for you, the learner. Take a moment today, maybe right after this.
Turn off the noise for a minute.
Yeah. Feel your breath. Smile gently. And just listen to the silence inside you and the silence that holds the whole world.
So the key takeaways. Silence is presence, not absence. It gives us deeper insight, and it's a powerful anchor in this noisy world.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought for you to chew on. How might consciously inviting just a few more moments of inner stillness into your days, how might that start to shift things for you, your perspective, your actions?
It's an ongoing exploration.
Absolutely. Keep listening.